Everybody's there here?
Yes, everybody that Jennifer and Joanne, I know had conflicts.
Right.
Dan, thank you for working it out to be here. And Chris,
Okay,
Scott
well,
as well. So you definitely have, between you, Scott, and Dan is quorum.
wonderful. So I want to thank everybody who's in attendance. This is the planning board meeting for the village of Fayetteville for the month of June. And we welcome you to this meeting. And we do have a little bit of an agenda. It's not necessarily heavy, but it is busy. So with that, why don't we get started? This, just so everybody knows, this meeting is being recorded. And we will move on to our first item on the agenda, which is Kimberly Carmen. Kimberly is seeking a special use permit for an assigned permit at 205 Brooklia Drive. Just a continuation from last month, Karen.
It is. So this
Yeah.
is, we have, I think you've already reviewed it. It required a public hearing. So wanted to open up the public hearing about the 205 Brooklyn Drive.
That's right. So do I have a motion to open up the public hearing for the both permit requests for 205 Brooklia Drive?
The special use permit, right? Hi, Kimberly.
Dan, is that you? You're muted.
So Dan.
I think Dan made the motion. Do I have a second?
Scott?
Second.
Okay. So with that, we'll open up our session right now to a public hearing on the application for a special use permit for a new business at 205 Brooklia Drive. Kimberly, would you mind giving us a 2-minute overview of the business that you're proposing to run at Brooklia Drive?
I do manicures and pedicures and facials and just some eyebrow waxing, and that's basically it.
Okay.
So I do that down the street in another location, and I just want to move to get away from the stairs and have a little bit more spacious place.
Great. And while you stay in the village, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for those who are in attendance of tonight's meeting, if you would like to raise your hand or otherwise let us know whether you have a statement or comment with respect to this particular special use permit application. Okay, looks like those who are here tonight, it does not look like we have any questions or comments on this particular application. Planning board, anybody in the planning board have a question or comment for the applicant?
No. No, we hit it pretty good last month.
Right. All right, with that, I'm going to move to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, public hearing is now closed. And I think with that, we can move on with our decision on whether to grant or not grant the request for a special use permit. I would recommend that we deem this a type 2 action under seeker. And therefore do not need to undertake any seeker review. And with that, do we have a motion to that effect and then a motion to either approve or deny the application?
Motion to treat this as a type 2 per your instructions, Jane. Also, a motion. Do we have to close the public hearing?
We just did that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
And a motion to approve the special use permit.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? No. Okay. We will need a similar motion on the sign permit.
The sign permit, she actually wanted to table until the next meeting.
Okay.
To reevaluate how that was going to be done, because of the potential of another tenant in the building, and they might want to work on something collectively.
Okay, very nice.
Is that
Okay.
right, Kim?
Yes, thank you.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Thank
it is
you.
a good idea to do it that way. Thank you and congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Kim, you're all
Okay.
set.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
bye. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Victoria Bingham Moscow Nights for a sign permit, an application for a sign permit. I see Victoria is here with us tonight. If we could give her, at least I thought I saw, yeah, if we could give her permission to speak, and she can present her case.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Victoria, yep, you're all set.
Hello.
go ahead.
Oh, what am I supposed to do?
If you could tell them what you're looking to accomplish with your application.
Sure. This is Moscow Nights Bed and Breakfast. It's also my home. And it's situated in an unusual stretch of property that extends between Route 5 and Cedar Lane. And when our guests come, my family is accustomed to getting out of the driveway. It's a single lane driveway onto Route 5, which is a challenging endeavor on a daily basis. But our visitors that come from anywhere all over the country and sometimes from overseas have difficulty. So we finally took the resources and the time to clear the back of our property. It took a truck coming in with a plow because it was just clogged with debris, trees down, weeds, poison ivy, garbage from neighbors, dog deposits from people who live on the street who would just throw them there from their backyard. We cleaned it all up, and we're still going to put some gravel because otherwise, it could resort to mud. It needs to have something for a car to park. And our request is for a sign. We have a sign that says parking for Moscow Nights guests. And it's for people who don't live in the area, so they know where it is. When they have to go 2 rights out of our driveway, they make a right onto Edwards, a right onto Cedar Lane, and then they know where it is that they can put their vehicle. We don't have a lot of people. Obviously, it's a lot less than if we had a full house with, like the house next to us has 7 cars at all times. We have just our family cars and the intermittent weekend guest. But we believe the signs are necessary because we need people to be able to find out where they're allowed to park. And it also, of course, is a tacit suggestion to people in the area that, no, this is not Fayetteville property that you can dump and leave your, unwanted lawnmowers we've found, garbage, dog manure. So the sign is for 2 reasons. It serves the dual purpose of letting guests know where it is that they can put their car. And it also lets people know that, yes, we have cleaned this up for a reason and we'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, well, I appreciate your overview. Just for clarification purposes, the size of the sign that you're looking for is, first of all, it's freestanding, and its total height is 18 inches
Correct.
tall and 24 inches wide. So that's from the ground up. It's only 18 inches tall, right?
Well, the sign is 18 by 24, and then
Right.
it has a little wire support. So it does stand, maybe 12 inches above the ground.
Okay. Okay.
12 inches to the base of the sign, you're saying?
Yeah, the
Yes.
sign goes into the ground, you step on it, and then it still holds the sign, the actual sign that is 18 by 24 is up a couple of inches into the air. It
Okay.
makes it more visible, and especially if you have snow, you know, you're going to need that couple of inches.
So is
Mike,
this,
Joan? Mike might be able to speak to, there's a code for bed and breakfast that addresses signs too, if you're wondering about the dimensions.
Yes.
go
So-
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's the one sign that belongs on the building. I believe you have it.
We don't have a sign on our building, no.
Okay.
There was some, wasn't there something like under bed and breakfast?
There's no words on the on our house. There is a coat of arms.
Yeah. What's approved for bed and breakfast is a single exterior sign or display may be established on the site of the bed and breakfast. Said sign or display shall not exceed 2 square feet in area. 1. That's what the bed and breakfast sign code says.
Well, that fits into it then, because it's only 2 feet wide and then it's 18 inches tall. You add a few inches for the wire base and you're not exceeding the 24 inches.
Right, 2 square feet.
Right. And we don't have a sign on the house, so this would be our individual, individual sign.
Was this the site of the Beard Morgan house?
That's correct.
Okay.
I see the sign permit application, but is there a site plan amendment required to do parking back there?
I don't see why we need permission to park a car on our own property. I don't know anyone in Fayetteville that doesn't park a car where they can have the space, especially in light of the fact that my own family, we have 3 cars between us. And we occasionally park back there because the driveway only lets one person in or out, and you're backing out onto Route 5. So it's actually a place that we like now being able to park, to not have to deal with backing out onto Route 5.
So you're,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to state that any driveway modification where you're making a driveway bigger needs a planning board review.
It's not a driveway though.
Driveway parking area. People need to go to the planning board for a driveway modification. If it's a
not
driveway, it's a driveway.
It's not a
Oh.
driveway. It's just a place where we put the vehicle. And I don't know
Park the
anyone.
vehicle.
I don't know.
I park my car in my driveway.
Well,
Do
let's wait a
anything
minute,
not-
wait a minute. Victoria, just for clarification purposes, there's a drawing here that shows what I would consider to be a driveway all the way from the front of your property to the back of your property. And
No, that's
No.
not true.
say that again.
Anyone can tell you. You had a lady come here yesterday. She can tell you. It's all,
So the driveway does not, just, it's okay if I'm wrong, just say it, the
yeah,
driveway, I see here.
Mike, can you tell her the layout of the land? It's all, it's hills and what used to be, I guess, some kind of river or creek.
that's
that
fine.
ran
So you do have a dip and you can't, that's fine. So your driveway that currently exists in the front of your house that comes out on Genesee Street, you are not proposing to extend that to the back of your house.
It wouldn't be possible.
That's fine. What you are proposing, however, is to not just have a sign, but you're also proposing to have parking spaces.
Not space. We have one car there from time to time. This isn't an operation. It's an intermittent thing. And I cleared the place because there's a ½ acre of land where I live. So the taxes are for ½ an acre. The usable part is as long as my house. My driveway doesn't go past my house. There's a 50-foot drop. There's no way to put a road there. It drops very steeply. going down from my house and going up to Cedar Lane is a very steep drop. I think there was at one time, there's on the plat, you can see it. There was some kind of, Mike, what is that called in the middle? You know, it has
An easement?
wet, yes, some kind of easement. So then there's a precipitous rise to the next side. And we can't use this land. It's never been cleared. It's never been developed. We came in and we took all the garbage out and the dead trees. Now at least it's a field of flowers down there. But the other side, we cleared it so that people would stop dropping garbage. I mean, it is, after all, our property, and we want it to look nice, and we don't need garbage there. And the fact that we can park a vehicle is wonderful, seeing as we have so little space for our own cars. So basically, the purpose of the sign is to just let our guests, when they come, know where this place is, and let our neighbors know that, yes, it does belong to someone and not the village, so it's not a place for dumping. It's not going to become a routine parking lot. It is land that we pay for that we'd like to get some use from, though.
Well, that's true. What you want to do for, you know, the reasoning behind it all, but there's a process when you cut into the a parcel from the road. You got to go through the process.
We didn't cut anything. We cleared garbage. It's already there.
Go ahead, Mike.
You need the approval from the Department of Public Works Superintendent. There's so many feet you can be to a corner, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a process. Not that we don't understand why you want to do it. That's all great, but there's a process.
Is that something you make everyone in the village of Fayetteville do? I see cars parked on people's property. I wonder if everyone in the whole village had to go through the process of getting permission.
Absolutely.
To use the property.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Victoria, it is a process. Mike is correct. And when anybody is using their residential property, a portion of it for any business use, whether it's a bed and breakfast or whether it's a home occupation. We have many people who have home occupations.
Let me ask you a question.
Excuse me, let me finish for a moment. When they are using their private residential property in those ways, they must seek site plan approval, as well as perhaps some other permits from DPW. And so we go through that process. And this is something else that you know, you need to look at because of the fact that you are improving or utilizing the back end of your property for some parking. Now, you may choose to say that there will only be 3 spaces here used over the period of an entire year, and that's very valid information, which we'd like to hear, and it may not be an issue whatsoever. But going through the process and seeking site plan approval is what we, you know, that's the protocol we have in the village.
Okay, here's my question. So if I close my bed and breakfast and I want to park my own family car, there's no problem?
No,
If
you still have to go through the process.
So to that point, Victoria, we've had quite a few folks who liked and want to extend their driveways and parking areas in the front of their property, even on the side of their property, and they need to seek approval for that. And we pay close attention to not just why they want to do it. There's always a good reason why, you know, a lot of very good reasons why. Likewise, you have a good reason why. It's to take into consideration what you're proposing to do, how it's going to affect the whole neighborhood, not just your property. And
who is being affected by me using my land?
Everybody's affected by everybody using their land. There's not one of us who doesn't have some effect on a neighbor at any time. And so
I think I had neighbors tell me how thankful they were that we finally took the garbage out and made it look like something. Did the village not take note of that?
I think they have taken note of that, and that's
it was an
great.
eyesore, Jane. It was an eyesore.
I appreciate
Well-
your time and attention to improving your property. There's no question everybody appreciates that. But it doesn't negate the fact that we have this protocol and this process. And I think that's all, just asking, saying that that's got to be followed. So your sign permit is in front of us now. A site plan application simply would help us know how many parking spaces you would like to have set aside in the back end of your property. And Mike will take a very close look as this zoning code officer and DPW guys. We want to make sure that there's no concern with site distance for pulling on and off, which I suspect there are no concerns because Cedar Street's a pretty quiet street.
There's one house on this street.
Yep. Well, then there's some, does Cedar Street go? Yeah. it
There's only
turns,
one house
yeah.
that faces Cedar Street.
That's right. So it should not be a heavy lift, but this is still, we still have our protocols and our process. So your decision tonight is, if you want, you can just pause your sign permit application and submit a site plan. Give us an indication of exactly where you want to put your sign on your property for your bed and breakfast use, and where you would like to put your parking spaces, second driveway, call it whatever you want, but this area where cars are going to be parked right off of the street. That's my understanding, is you're wanting to give your guests an opportunity to park their cars off of the street, but on your property, right?
So Jane, what you're saying is even if I close my business and want to use my own property to park my own car, I still have to pay an additional however much and go through another month of waiting and all of this.
Yes.
And all of you have done that. None of you use your property. You have gone through every inch of your property that you use. You've gotten permits to use just for your own family.
Park in my driveway,
have.
parking lot.
It's not a parking lot to park your car on the grass. Of the
No,
back.
Well, I'm
to
sorry,
extend
but this doesn't indicate an individual car.
No, I
This
already said
indicates
though,
more
didn't
than
I,
one
that if
car.
I closed my business and I want to put my family car there, I don't
You
care
still
about
need it.
business. I have fought to make a beautiful business in the village of Fayetteville, and I've had to fight tooth and nail for everything along the way. I'll close it tomorrow. I just want to, since I'm paying a half acre of taxes, to have some use for what, frankly, 3/4 of my land is useless. And that, I
Victoria,
shouldn't have to go
Victoria.
through a hoop to be able to park where everyone else in the village, I'll venture to guess if
Yeah.
I drive around that people are parking where they have ability to do so.
Victoria, any resident in the village needs approval through the village planning board to put in a driveway. If it's a new house,
Not a
then you can
driveway,
only
it's
put in,
grass, it's gravel.
well, you can't park on the grass anyways, but look at, if you're gonna park vehicles off the road, there's requirements need to be met, like 25% rule of the frontage. If you got 60 foot of road frontage, which you do on Cedar Street, then it can only be 25%. You're into a bed and breakfast, which you're having a site plan amendment that needs to be addressed. People want to know what the signage is and how many parking spots you're going to put in, so it all has to meet. We have to have a talk with the superintendent of DPW to look at it, make sure there's no right-of-way issues, whether it's your property or anybody else's. Somebody wants to expand their driveway 2 foot on one side, they have to come to the planning board. If they're going to just put in a driveway that's already existing, then they can do that. But if they're going to modify it, that's what the planning board for is. So it doesn't become a parking lot in somebody's front yard or side yard. That's just how it is. There's a process.
So Victoria, thank you for your sign permit application. And we understand your explanation for wanting to utilize the other side of your property off of Cedar Street for parking purposes. If you choose to continue to do that for your bed and breakfast, and you would like to have that sign placed in that area, then we recommend you simply add site plan application, get it filed with the village, and we'll be ready to address all of this. Yes, it is a month later, but it's only a month later. I don't know if this is a big season for you. If you know, can
It is our
work with your
busy-
guests.
Yeah.
If you can work with your guests in the meantime, that would be fantastic. And we'd be willing and ready to address both of your applications. You do have the choice to continue with your sign permit tonight, but probably won't be able to locate it because we're gonna, or use it, I should say, because you're gonna need a site plan permit if you actually want to establish a space on your lawn for cars to park off of the road, right? So it makes sense to me that you bring both applications together. You know, that you have us address both applications at the same time, but that's just my suggestion. You do have the opportunity to continue with your sign permit. So that's the decision I need from you right now is, do you want us to address this sign permit? Or would you like to pause it until you can get a site plan application submitted and we can consider the two of them together?
Well, in order to answer your question, I'll have to ask you a question first. If I were to
Okay.
get the permission to put my one sign in the back of my property, so that at least people understand this is not a dumping ground, regardless of the fact that you want me to wait to be able to park a car. If that's going to be something you can move ahead with, then let's do it.
Yeah, I think planning board members, I think we can address the proposed sign itself. And Victoria, you're going to have to help us understand the placement of your sign, not just that it's off of Cedar Street, but actual literal 2 feet and, you know, one way, 3 feet another way. We need to know the exact location where you propose to put the sign.
We cleared a space of all the trees and debris. It's right now it's just plain turf, ground, mud, dirt, whatever. And it's 62 feet wide and it goes in about 18, 19 feet, in some places 20. I could just set it off to the side, somewhere right there, just at least so that the ground is identified as being actually owned by someone, and that should suffice for the time being.
Mike, do you have a suggestion of how far off of Cedar Street? Or, you know, we don't want it too close to Cedar Street, right? We want to make sure that it doesn't cause any concerns. So 2 feet in from Cedar Street?
I'd have to refer to the highway superintendent on the right of way of the road in itself. And then if you can only go into the property 18 or 20 feet, you know, max, and, you know, the road width might be 30 feet wide. So that'll put the easement or the right of way, you know, 6 feet into where she think the road ends. I don't know. We have to look at that.
Oh, where the right of
And-
way for Cedar Street is on her, whether it's her property or whether it's the right of way. Okay.
Right. That's something we have to look at according to the survey and the maps for the
Well,
village.
yep.
Mike, I had the land surveyed twice, so we do know where it ends. We can go in 6 to 10 feet easily.
All right. So, and we still have the 25% rule. However, that's kind of,
Well, we're not
Not all-
making any, just a moment,
Right.
Mike. There's no decision here that there's going to be cars parked. This is just sign placement,
right,
literally.
a sign saying not to park. Right,
I mean, the fact is, if a site plan does not come across our desk, then there's no purpose for the sign. And so the sign, yeah,
I feel like we're kind of flying blind
I
without
meant-
the
Yeah,
site
we're
plan.
trying to fly blind here. So Victoria, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a little
Yes,
slow on the
Jane.
uptake here, but you can't put up a sign for guests if you don't have a place for the guests to park, and you don't have place for guests to park because we don't have a site plan application in front of
Understand that,
us,
but guests are not going to park unless I direct them to.
well, then there's no need for a sign. We're
But
in a
Jane, I already
circuit
said the
argument.
sign, the purpose of the sign is to identify the land as belonging to my family so that we no longer have, we've had vehicles parking there.
You don't need a sign that says parking for Moscow Nights B&B guests to identify the fact that that land belongs to you.
Then I'll put up a no trespassing sign. I
That's
thought the Moscow
very
Nights public
legitimate.
was going to be more
Yeah.
neighborly.
No, that's very legitimate to put up a no trespassing sign, and you do not need a permit from us to accomplish that. And if you find that that portion of your property is being misused by others, then you have a right to put that sign up. I encourage you to come back. Again, if you want to pause your sign permit application, you can do that. You can choose to withdraw it later on. You can always change your mind.
I already paid for it. I just as soon have the permit, and then when I get the right to put the cars, the sign can serve a dual purpose. No one's going to park there unless I direct them to. So until I have some additional permission, then we just won't have our park there.
So I'm going to recommend that we pause the sign permit application until we can get your site plan application, and then we can look at everything together and ensure that we know exactly where the right of way begins and ends. We know how deep you want your parking area, and all of that can work in concert together. So I'm going to pause it until you are able to or decide to put before us a site plan application. And in the meantime, Victoria, if you find that others are misusing, mistreating, a portion of your property, you have every right to put up a no
It
trespassing
happens all
sign.
the time. I had a drone photographer come out last weekend, and when I got the pictures back, there were cars that shouldn't have been in the picture. It
Oh,
was
wow.
like property photographs.
Yeah.
So it's
That's-
constant. That's why I'd like to be able to put the sign, just to identify it without being rude. I don't want to say to my neighbors, no trespassing. I would just like to say, this is my property. Nobody knew it. They all thought it was just junk property that was being ignored by the village, and it was being used accordingly.
Okay.
So I would prefer to be able to put up a polite sign that simply says Moscow Nights.
Well, if we get a site plan application with that, we can get it all worked out next month, and you can have your sign, and we'll know where to put it, and your neighbors will understand what's going on there. So that's what we can give you for tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much, Victoria. I appreciate it. And I look forward to, learning about a site plan application for that area of your property. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda, which is Salt Point Shop. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Salt Point Shop and Fashion Exchange are literally side by side at 100 Brooklia Drive and 102 Brooklia Drive. We have both site plan and sign permit applications. And I think that listening to both applications together makes sense. Does that make sense, Nicole?
Yeah, sorry, when it was connecting us, it cut out a little bit. Just wanted to clarify that we are two different shops, but this is my mother-in-law, so we're just moving in next door since we're already friendly.
That's okay. I understand them to be two different shops, but they are going in almost at the same time, if not at the same time. And to me, it looked like your aesthetic is going to be very complementary to each other. So if the planning board is okay with this, I think it makes sense that we review these two applications concurrently. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I concur.
All right. So welcome, Nicole. And I'm sorry, I don't know your mother-in-law's name, but welcome.
This is
I
Kathy.
appreciate Kathy. I appreciate you coming tonight. And if one of you or both of you want to give us a high-level overview of what you're proposing, that would be great.
Sure. So I'm going to be on 100 Brooklia. And I'm going to be doing quickly. Sorry, I'm going to be doing a boutique. So it's going to be clothing, accessories, home decor. I grew up in Syracuse, but I left for college and I lived in Boston. So I want to bring kind of some more East Coast brands to the area, as well as I'm working with local craftsmen in the Manlius and Fayetteville area and surrounding Syracuse area to bring in some of their homemade items as well.
Wonderful. And Kathy, you want to give us an overview of your proposal?
Yes, I am going to the other side of the store, which I've known for a very long time. I grew up here. This business is 25 years old. I purchased it 4.5 years ago. And I just want it to be a high-end boutique to fit my consignment clothing for women.
Great. Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm a brand new store and she's an existing store in Linden Corners that will be moving.
Right. Okay. And you both are proposing for your signs, trying to get your material in front of me. Essentially the same kind of sign, different names, right? But you've got same black awning, the same lettering.
Yep. So there was a black awning that was there previously.
Right.
We liked how it looked. We want to keep things to the Fayetteville aesthetic. And so we were looking into awnings and trying to find the same one that's similar. So that would be, if we did an awning, that would be the same exact as it was, just our own names on it.
Okay. Michael, he's not with us right now. Here he comes. Do you have any comment, Mike Jones, on the sizing of the lettering on the awning relative to what our code, our sign code allows?
I do have a sizing.
Okay, sorry, it's muted.
That's okay.
They meet the code.
Okay, good. Both proposed signs meet the code. Okay.
Yes.
Planning board members, any questions for our applicants?
No, I obviously drive by the site every single day, multiple times. I mean, it makes sense for the spot. The layout is conducive for the two different businesses to operate. If what they're proposing as far as the awnings and the sign is similar to what was there, and as depicted in the presentation, I mean, I don't see any reason.
Not approve it. Okay.
Karen,
ahead,
was
Mike.
did this have to go to the HPC for
It
the
is
awning?
going. It is. They meet
It is,
on the
okay.
they meet on the second Wednesday, which is this Wednesday, the 9th. And Nicole and Kathy, I was going to send you information about that meeting so that you can present the same thing to them, just and they'll confirm their perspective on it too.
Yep, we're aware of that. Sorry, I have
Yeah, that's right.
our contractors with us as well, and he just had a input question. So
Sure.
Hey Mike, how you doing?
I'm John.
Good.
So when Mike was down at the site, I'm not under a building permit there because I was just doing flooring, but they asked me about possibly doing the awning. So when Mike was there, I had a quick discussion with him about, and he had brought up the idea that there was a grant for, and actually Pat was part of this discussion as well, for painting the building and possibly money that could be allocated for the awnings.
I can talk to you more about that at another time. That's something, I'm not sure what the process is for that and how you apply and if it's guaranteed, that kind of thing. There is a, what they call a Main Street grant. A program they have to apply for, but I haven't been able to look up the particulars yet.
Who was that? Karen, is that you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Karen.
This is Karen at the
Karen
village
talking.
office.
Not a
This
problem.
is,
I'll stop up
that
and-
topic is something separate that we could probably better talk about tomorrow with the office.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll stop up and see you. I just wanted some clarification on, how this process is going to shake out and who we should be talking to. So
Thank
that's it
you.
for now.
Yeah, let's keep all discussions regarding grant monies are separate from permit application. So,
Okay.
so back to the two applications. If we have any general questions from the planning board members. Last I heard was, nope, we're all good with what's being proposed, both for Fashion Exchange and Salt Point.
Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I'm going to make a motion that for both Salt Point sign and site plan applications, as well as for the Fashion Exchange sign and site plan applications, that they are considered a type 2 action and therefore do not require any further seeker review. So that's my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, Jennifer.
Sorry, Dan.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Then I think if someone has a motion, I think now at this point, we should probably split the two. And if somebody has a motion for Salt Point, both applications for Salt Point.
I would motion to approve both applications for Salt Point, the site plan and the sign.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then can we have a motion for Fashion Exchange?
Go ahead, Scott. Come on, you can
Motion to
do it.
approve both site plan and sign permit for Fashion Exchange.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Thanks,
right,
Dan.
thank you, Kathy and Nicole. Thank
Had to
you
get
for,
started somehow.
yeah. Thank you for combining your sign permit and site plan application together. It makes a lot of sense and we really appreciate that. So yes, Nicole, do you have a question for us?
Yes, we just also was under the impression that we'd be discussing the building permit as well.
Call me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not in our purview. We don't,
Tomorrow.
that's straight with Mike and he
We've
can
been on a
take care of
pause
you
for
tomorrow.
about 2 weeks now. So, okay, tomorrow's the day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a good
Okay.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving right along, our next item on the agenda is Julie Harmon at 523 East Genesee Street, site plan and sign permit. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
We're good, thank you. Okay, you are metamorphic, right?
I am.
Wonderful, thank you. Why don't you give us all, a high-level summary of what you're proposing for this site?
Sure, yeah. So my name's Julianne Harmon. I'm actually a new massage therapist. One might not expect that by looking at me, but yeah, I worked in human resources for 25 years and decided I wanted to do something different. So I went back to school, complete 180 for massage therapy. Currently
Nice.
working at Massage Envy, as I had received my license as a massage therapist and now opening my own studio. So the location's 523 East Genesee Street. And it literally is a studio. It's one room on the first floor. I think there was an attached drawing of the building there. And so one person, me, doing massage. And I guess what I'm looking for is approval to have my sign posted on the existing, I guess, signboard out on the front lawn.
Right. Thank you. Nice succinct presentation and welcome to your new world.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So I don't have any questions. And I recognize that in one of your applications that you have the layout of the entire building, but you're really intending to use just the front first story, right?
Sorry, I think my internet was a little funny for a moment.
So you have on one of your applications, a layout of the first, second, and attic floor plan of the full building. You're not intending to use the full building, correct?
No, I'm not now anyway, but hey, I
Yeah.
never say never.
Right. So you're taking basically one of the studio areas on the first floor.
Yeah, it is the first floor. This print is really small. I apologize. It's the
okay.
first floor room that depicts like a fireplace in it.
Okay,
You're looking at the first diagram far left.
right. Okay. I don't have any questions. Let me see, your sign permit, we got that. Where is that? Go ahead, planning board members, if somebody else has a question for the applicant.
This sign is going into the existing signpost, right? That's already there? Yeah.
Yes. It is, yep. I'm gonna clean it up for the landlord. It hasn't been painted in like 20 years. It's gonna
Right.
be sanded and painted, and I'm
Oh,
probably gonna
nice.
do his landscaping as well because I can't take it.
Yeah,
What was here before?
Apparently, there was a couple of brothers, Nationwide Insurance, maybe, that were there for like 30 years or so.
Correct. Yes.
And there was a psychic there a few years ago too.
That's right.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
why it seems so weird when I'm in there painting. She must have been
Yeah.
roasting or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I have no idea.
well,
I'm
Mike,
definitely not a psychic, but I can work magic with my hands.
there you go. That's what we all need. Mike, the sign application is within code?
Yeah, it appears to be in order. However, how many spots are in that building is still yet to be determined. We got a directory sign, and yet we don't have really a directory code. Didn't
The only
we all
other
talk
current
about?
business in there is the accountant. There's an accountant in back, right?
Yeah,
And that's all
Uh,
that's,
I'm not sure if it's an account. There is one other occupant, but they don't have the signage. I don't know, like a psychiatrist or psychologist, but they don't
Yeah.
utilize signage.
Yeah, so the accountant is the actual landlord. He owns the property. And so his sign was currently there, but he practices at a different location. And so I think if that was Karen, the other tenant is on the second floor and they're psychologists, family counselors, and they are not going to have any signage.
Well, this sign seems to still fit within the code,
Yeah.
whether it is the only one on the whole sign or whether, you have other businesses that are advertised on that directory sign. It still fits the code, so I don't have any issues. Anybody else?
Well, I
I
have a
don't-
question. Oh, Jane,
Go
I have a
ahead.
question. Not this sign I am fine with, and if Mike is saying it meets code, that's fine. But about that overall sign for that building, it's every time we have an applicant come renting space in that building, it's the same comment that's raised that the sign is an eyesore, et cetera. And so this question for Mike, is this sort of a code enforcement issue, say? It seems that we've heard a lot of complaints about this over at least 10 years.
Geez, how do we answer that?
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, or maybe it can be revisited, but I do
Yeah.
want to call attention to it because every time we have an applicant for this building, there's always comments that are
Same.
negative made about that sign,
Right, either the size or the colors or,
the overall appearance of it.
yeah.
So you don't feel like you have to respond, but perhaps it can be investigated.
Well, we
Yeah,
can
I think,
Go ahead, Mike.
I think we really need to look at those directory signs.
Yeah.
In a certain area. Just, I
Right.
mean, she's got a great sign. It's within code for the size, but if somebody, 2 or 3 people want to move in there, now you give them the same size sign in the directory sign, and now it's oversized for the the lineal feet of the building,
Mhm.
or changes on the code. So I think we need to just look at what we can come up with, which would be fair enough and visible,
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, and there's, to Jennifer's point, though, I mean, it's not just directory signs, there are signs in general. I don't know that we have any way to encourage businesses to, upgrade their signs. Right? It's not just this directory sign that one could argue is a little shabby. So I don't know that it's a code enforcement. I do think there is a code regulation that these directory signs kind of fall outside of.
Right.
They're not easy.
So
So
it's however the village boards would like to see the signage, and come up with a plan.
all right. Well, for tonight, I think our plan is to address the proposed site plan and sign permit as proposed by Julianne, right? Julianne?
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Julianne Harmon. So I'm going to make a motion that the site plan and sign permit applications are type 2 in nature from a seeker perspective and do not require further seeker review. So that is my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion for site plan and or sign permit application? For the metamorphic massage. I like your name, by the way.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the site plan and the sign permit as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Wonderful. Thank you, Julianne.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Come see me.
Very good. All right. Enjoy. Bye-bye. All right. That brings us down to other business. Let me give everybody an update on 547 East Genesee Street. Since we met last, I'm not going to remember the exact date. Let's just say somewhere halfway between our last meeting and this meeting, Dan and I, upon request from the applicant for that application, we met with him, Devin Dalpaz, his engineer, Matt Naparella, his tenants representative, Nadine Bell, and the land, I don't know, Matt Kerwin. I'm assuming he was a representative for the property, but I don't really know. Anyway, we all met. The focus and purpose of that meeting was to understand where they are in the scoping document and to discuss that process. And in that meeting, as we were going through that, they also shared with us some of the alternative concepts that they have come up with as they were trying to go through the scoping, which is something that is asked for through this DEIS process, seeker process. So we all looked at the different concepts, they presented them. We discussed the seeker process itself in going through the whole process. For example, if we get through the seeker process, then we move on to, I mean, that is just seeker. Then we need to move on to the actual focus on the application itself, which is also focused on the application for the zoning board of approval. So we just generally discussed those steps and that was, and then concluded that meeting. Decisions on how to move forward through this process still rest with the applicant. And subsequent to that meeting, the village of Fayetteville received a FOIL request from, I don't know, I don't remember the person's name, from an
I'm not
attorney.
sure where it originated. I'm not sure if this is, it has any bearing right now.
What?
I'm not sure where that originated from, the FOIL.
So we received a FOIL request seeking essentially all points of communication from planning board members, ZBA members, board of trustee members on this particular application. So we all get to, if there's been any email, text, or other recorded communication on meetings, schedules, comments, whatever. We get to pull all that together in response to the FOIL request. And I think that brings us all up to date. No hard decisions on either the process for seeker review or on the application itself has been made by anybody. And I can't think, I hope I'm not forgetting anything, but I don't think there's anything else to report on with respect to that application.
Jane, for the record, that meeting was on May 20th.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Does in the FOIL request, does it say who the attorney is representing?
No.